Good afternoon, everyone. I would call to order the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District Board of Directors meeting. This is November 4th, 2021. And we have a moderate agenda with the usual reports and 2 resolutions. So let's begin with the attendance roll call.
Munson.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Githens.
Here.
Hamilton. Piedmont Smith.
Here.
Jones. Swafford. You have a quorum.
Thank you. So our next item is a usual item. It is the Executive Committee meeting minutes. These are from September 30th, and these are included in your packet for your information. The next minutes, we will need to have a motion to approve. These are the Board of Directors minutes. Ms. Piedmont Smith, would you offer a motion for us?
Yes, I move approval of the Board of Director meeting minutes from October 14th, 2021.
Second.
Thank you. Does anyone have comments or questions regarding these minutes? I see none. We'll have a roll call vote. Mr. McGlasson?
Githens.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Munson.
Yes.
Piedmont Smith.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Kathy Martin regarding cash flows.
The cash flow summary was included in the information that I emailed to you yesterday, but I did revise that today after I received the landfill trust statement, and I finished that cash flow statement. You should have received a revised summary statement this afternoon.
Yes.
As of October 31st, the ending balance in the operating account was $1,716,376.28. The savings account balance was $1,288.36. Closure bond debt was $29,854.53. Capital account was $45,413.60, and the landfill post-closure was $757,171.32. The individual cash flow statements and the cash balance graph were also included in items emailed yesterday, with the exception of the landfill trust cash flow statement, which was emailed this afternoon. Questions on the cash flow statements?
I don't have any questions. Oh, Ms. Piedmont Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, for the landfill post-closure, where we've been losing on investments, is that the one held by German American Bank?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, with the investments that we talked about earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, well, I don't know if there's anything we can do to stop the bleeding there, but it's not a very good year, I guess, for those investments.
No, go ahead.
It's not been performing well this year. And in our discussions with bank representatives earlier in the years, a lot of that has to do just with the market conditions and fluctuations and the limitations of our investment opportunities. But we can certainly reach out to them again and kind of reassess the portfolio and see if there's changes that that can be made to help improve the performance.
Yeah, it might be good to touch base.
Yeah.
We did have the loss did jump up this month. It was
Yep.
a little more significant even than last month. I noticed. I didn't have a lot of time today to analyze, but I did notice that it was even the loss was more than last month. So, but we can reach out to them and see what we can come up with.
And I know that we're limited on our investment vehicles, but the Wilshire 5,000 is up 21% this year. There's no way we should be losing money on this.
So one of the things that I'd like you to inquire about is the effect that increasing inflation might have on our particular investment portfolio. Because it looks like we're in for a period of rising inflation.
Yeah, I don't know that I have an answer to that. I think it's a good question and something we should take up with the bank.
Okay, so thank you. We'll look forward to hearing from you at the next meeting on this. So thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Martin? Okay, now we can move toward the claims, Ms. Martin.
On page 9 of the board packet is a listing of the pre-approved claims, and those were in the amount of $126,426.37. The backup documentation follows for those on pages 10 through 15 of the packet. The email sent yesterday also included the current payroll and accounts payable claims for this week. And those were in the amount of $42,088.21. That brings the total of claims for approval to $168,514.58. Questions on the claims?
Thank you. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment that the early date for our board meeting this month made it a little more complicated for you because of when you have reports available. And we don't want you to overwork. So I hope we don't have too many more early reschedulings in our standard meeting time. So thank you for your extra work, Ms. Martin. Okay,
You're
Ms.
welcome.
Piedmont Smith, you had a comment or question?
Yeah, I know that we see this almost every month, that there are employee loans through John Hancock.
Mhm.
Can you explain, Ms. Martin or Mr. McGlasson, how that works? Like, we're paying, like, what is the district actually paying and from what funding source?
That's actually just, they borrow money against their retirement account, and then we take the money out of their check. We're not paying anything. That's money we withhold from their paycheck to actually pay to John Hancock in repayment of those loans. No funds whatsoever from the district in repayment, strictly just a withholding reimbursement, from their paycheck directly to John Hancock. And that's what those are for. I think we have 3 of those.
So the claims for payroll are a little bit less because we're paying out this, these couple $100s. Is that?
No,
That
because it doesn't impact the employee's gross pay. That's their pay is still the same, but just like with health insurance and stuff, then that money is withheld from their gross pay. And then just like we withhold money for the health insurance and other benefit premiums, and then that withholdings are then distributed to the payees necessary.
Only affects their net pay, not their gross pay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to understand it from a cash flow perspective. So we still
paid that employee the $1,000 for the pay period that they get every pay period. And then if they have the loan, then the net pay, instead of being 750 or whatever it would be after taxes and all that, is 600 because there was the loan payment due. It affects their net pay, but the gross pay stays the same. So our payroll numbers are the same,
Yeah,
but less money goes into the employee's bank account via direct deposit because that portion is diverted to John Hancock for the loan payment.
Okay, so if an employee has a loan set up with John Hancock, then that portion of their paycheck goes where? I mean, because we end up paying John Hancock, right? So we have an outflow of cash.
We paid that with money withheld from the employee's paycheck.
Okay. So in the interim, it's somehow in a holding
Yes.
account
Yeah.
or something?
Kind of like the flex accounts money is.
mhm,
It's like a garnishment. If somebody's getting their wages garnished for a legal whatever, I have to take that money out of their paycheck and I have to put it in a garnishment account, which is just like a holding account. And then I remit that money to the state.
Which is what lines 12 and 13 on that claims docket right above the John Hancock payments are for.
Okay. All right, thank you. That helps.
thank you. Are there other questions or comments?
I guess
Ms.
I did.
Piedmont-Smith?
I'm sorry, I
ahead.
guess I did have another one. So the 15,618 for Heritage Environmental Services for the HHW, is that just a periodic payment, like when our storage space is full, that's when we send these things off, or is it once a month, or how often is
Yeah,
that?
no, it's based on the volume that we have and, our storage capacity, or, what, they have a minimum they want to come down and get to make it worth their while. So
Mhm.
it's done based on the volume that we take in and when we need to ship that out. And that does not happen every month, every 6 weeks, or any sort of regular schedule like that.
Okay, and I assume that most of that cost is covered, or all of it is covered by the fees that people pay when they drop off things like that?
Some of it.
A good portion of it is, but I mean, we still have a number of materials we take in through the HHW program that we do not have fees for. The fee schedule was established and has been amended over time only establishes fees for certain things, but those aren't all the things that we have a cost on the back end for.
Okay, I'd be interested to maybe see what things we take that we don't collect fees for.
The list that we do is much shorter and easier.
Well, but I don't know what other things the district accepts.
Yeah.
Mhm. So how
That's
about
certainly
we-
something, that is certainly something that we could look at putting together for you. I would qualify that, though, that in Mr. Morgan's absence, that may be a little more difficult and time consuming to do. But we could certainly look at doing that and see what we can put together.
Okay, I mean, we can wait a few months and do it. when
Okay.
he's back.
Yeah. So we have changed in the past a few fees. Not very many.
No,
Oh,
we don't have very many. So.
right. So looking at the fine print on this line, for Heritage Environmental Service, it says pharmaceuticals. Are prescription drugs collected at South Walnut?
No, we no longer, I guess, have the approval or the authority to do that from the sheriff and the prosecutor's office. That was Prosecutor Gall's, a program that he implemented, and he identified our HHW facility as a drop point. But through some changes in that program and some concerns about training that our staff did or didn't have in DEA compliance, they stopped allowing us to accept the prescription medications, predominantly the narcotics, but we do still accept over-the-counter medications.
Okay,
Oh,
so thank
That's
you.
good to know. I have a bag full.
It is. So I saw a bag on a display available for medication disposal when I was at the drugstore the other day. So maybe the drugstores themselves are making this easier to properly dispose of pharmaceuticals.
Well, for the information of the board and whoever is watching, for prescription medications, the drop-offs that I'm available of are the Sheriff's Department, Bloomington Hospital, and the CVS pharmacy that's over by Best Buy that's open 24 hours. 3rd and the bypass, 3rd and College Mall Road.
3rd and College Mall. Okay. And Monroe Hospital also collects.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. So if there are no more questions, we're ready to have a roll call vote. Oh no, we're ready for a motion. We're ready for a motion, please.
I move approval of the payroll and claims as presented in our packet, plus the follow-up emails. That's it.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. If no more discussion, let us have a roll call vote, please.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Githens.
yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we'll consider Resolution 2021-14. This is something we do every year as a requirement for by the state that we must fix salaries for the next calendar year. Ms. Piedmont Smith, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move approval of Resolution 2021-14, then ordinance for fixing salaries for calendar year 2022.
Second.
Thank you. Who would like to ask questions or make comments about this exciting proposition? Ms. Piedmont Smith.
Yeah, I just have one question. It says that these are the maximum salaries. Are all of our employees making exactly these amounts, or are some of them making less?
Currently, that would be the pay rate for all those positions currently. Now, if we use the term maximum fixed, in the event that somebody were to leave the district and had to be replaced, depending on who that was and training and experience and certifications, we may bring a new person in at a lesser amount.
Okay, thank you.
And if we were to bring in somebody or want to bring in somebody at a higher amount, we would have to have another resolution.
Yes.
Okay. Other questions? Comments? We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Thomas,
Yes.
Githens,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you. Our next resolution concerns the holiday schedule. Ms. Piedmont Smith, would you like to make a motion for us?
Should we make a motion or wait and see if we might postpone this. I thought there might be some discussion about revisions.
I think that the motion has to be made in order to have that discussion, and then
Yeah.
the resolution can be amended, can be voted down, can be tabled, whatever the
Yep.
board's pleasure.
Not
Sorry.
all of those things at one time, but we have options.
All right. I move approval of resolution 2021-15 to establish the 2022 district holiday schedule.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. McGlasson, please present this to us in whatever way you would
Well,
like.
first off, want to
You've got
make
options
sure.
here too.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure everybody did receive the email that went out Monday or Tuesday. I had a spreadsheet attached with a couple of alternative holiday schedules that were discussed during the executive committee meeting. That we wanted the board to see as options for potentially to amend this resolution if the proposed schedule in the resolution is not adequate or satisfactory to everybody. So do we have, Ms. Thomas?
Can you share your screen? Because I don't have that in front of me.
Can everybody see that?
Mhm.
Yes.
So that the top part of that just kind of shows what is the identified holidays that are in the resolution, and I've done it by position groupings, particularly at South Walnut, where we have three or four different employee schedules in place, and so which holidays apply to which schedules, which positions. And then how that totals out for number of holidays, hours that are being provided based on schedules, and some comparisons with what a ratio of holiday hours versus work hours, and then below that we have right here. Everybody see? Is the mouse showing too? Because I can't see it.
Yes.
This is what is in the resolution. This was a first alternative discussed that adds some additional holidays to all the South Walnut positions to bring them up more in line with the total holiday hours for the other employee schedules. And then down here is the second alternative proposal that I think adds one more additional holiday to those South Walnut positions, which actually would put their number of hours in between what the admin office is getting and what the rural sites are getting as a total. So those are the three options presented for consideration. Obviously, additional options are willing to be heard if anybody has any additional proposals they would like to add.
I'd like to say, first of all, thank you to Tom McGlasson for his incredible patience in dealing with this. Our commissioners had just a simple job of establishing for all 600 plus county employees a holiday schedule. But here we have, how many employees do we have altogether?
26.
20, I thought it was less than 30. We have different workplaces, different work days, different schedules, and it really makes it very hard to balance out holidays. So this becomes a real item of business for the board to consider.
Just if anybody is interested, if anybody is interested, I mean, we have daily work schedules that are either 8 10, or 11.5 hours.
Wow.
And the least common multiple of those three numbers is 920. And I don't think we want to give 920 paid holiday hours to anybody.
I'm glad you did the math on that. That's funny. But I think looking at the percentage of paid holiday hours to the total work hours is an informative statistic for us to review. So at least it made it easier for me to review. Does anybody have questions or comments they'd like to offer?
So it looks to me like the alternative proposal number 2 is the most equitable with regard to the paid holiday hours as a percentage of the scheduled work hours.
Thank you. Any others?
In the past, didn't we offer paid time off to compensate when there
Mhm.
weren't holidays?
Yes. Mr. McGlasson, do you want to explain the quote floating holidays, which I believe are
Yeah,
equivalent
that
to
would
paid
be-
time off?
Yes,
Right,
yeah,
I think that would be useful.
yes, and I'm sorry, and that is what is in the proposal in the resolution does provide a floating holiday for the assistant operations director and materials handler 2, and 2 floating holidays for the recycling and reuse coordinator, the truck driver 1, and the hazmat tech 1. And what that did was bring those positions up to 8, and that way that everybody at South Walnut was getting 8 scheduled holidays per year. Those employees being granted the floating one would be something that they would have to schedule with their supervisor and get that paid day off at whatever schedule works for them and their supervisor. But that would come as holiday pay, not as paid time off or sick time or anything like that.
Mhm.
Did you include those included those floating holidays in this chart, yes?
Yes, I'm sorry,
Okay.
and that's down
That's my
in the,
question. Thank you.
yeah, when you're looking at the proposals, the top line on each one, total holidays, you can see the difference in the South Walnut positions, and they all come up to either 8, 10, or 11. And that would be done by granting floating holidays to those positions short of that
Okay.
number.
That's what I needed. Thank you so much.
I was just looking at what we did for 2021, and we had 14 holidays for administration, 12 for South Walnut, and 12 for the rural recycling sites. So that probably was not as equitable as it could have been. But yeah, if we go to, let's see, total holidays. Well, actually, so that was more than, am I missing something, Tom? So that was more than actually even proposal 2.
Sorry, I'm gonna,
Right.
let me stop my screen share here. So I'm gonna have to get into a different document. So you're talking about the holiday schedule for this year.
Yeah,
In the resolution that established the schedule for this year, just granted 2 floating holidays across the board to all staff members at South Walnut. And we did not, but now, and then the other thing too is going into this year, we did not have the varied schedules that we currently have. If you'll recall, back in January, when we had an employee resign at South Walnut, we did some reorganization over there, and that's what allowed us to not fill that one truck driver position. But part of that reorganization changed some of the employee schedules over there, which is why you have that breakdown, as big of a breakdown as we did in that spreadsheet. Because you have at least 3, if not 4 different employee schedules over there. Because you have 2 sets of employees who work a weekly rotation of Tuesday through Friday and Wednesday through Saturday. And they every other week, they rotate that schedule. And as it turns out, one of those rotations does tend to hit the majority of the Saturday holidays and create a discrepancy between those 2 groups of employees.
Yeah. So when,
So wait, what I'm looking at, Tom, is what you'd emailed me a week ago, resolution 2020-13. And here it looks like there was only 1 floating holiday. Did we change that for 2021?
Well, the one I just pulled up from last year's board meeting had 2 on it. Let me pull the packet up and see if that got changed before the packet got put together.
I think it's important because if we're going from 12 holidays down to 11, that's going to be noticed.
Well, I mean, but we don't get the same number every year. And a lot of that just depends on what day holidays fall. I mean, if July 4th is a Sunday, and we sometimes will observe that on the Saturday or the Monday, but not all holidays fall on a regular work day every year. So that number does fluctuate by 1 or 2 every year.
They do have 2.
Election day is a good example of that. There are no elections this year. That's 2 holidays that we had last year that we don't get this.
that's
This year.
The document that I'm looking at must be incorrect because it has election day for this year.
They do have
That
2
was an old
floating
draft.
holidays.
The resolution that was in the packet has 2. So I apologize, Ms. Piedmont Smith. I must have sent you the wrong document, an earlier version or something.
They do have 2. Because I track them in payroll, and they do have two floating holidays.
So
No,
for 20, sorry.
So I do see something in our packet on page 21. It does include Election Day, November 8th.
For next year, yes.
For next year, right. And also the primary election day on May
Right,
3rd.
but in 2021,
We
there were
didn't
no
have it.
elections in Monroe County, so those holidays aren't there.
So how many days was it in 2021, Tom, for the different categories?
With the 2 floating holidays, South Walnut got 11.
And the rural sites?
$12.
And the admin also 12?
County 13, but not seeing the difference. 13, Veterans Day. This year, the sites, Veterans Day fell on a Thursday when the sites are closed.
Mhm.
And then when you compare those things, you have to account that the sites, that's an 11.5 hour day. Each holiday is 11.5 paid hours to them versus 8 for admin and 10 for South Walnut.
So with the variable number of hours worked, I think it makes most sense to not count holidays, but actually holiday hours,
Yeah.
and which I think very glad you put together for us.
And then I think looking at it compared with scheduled work hours is important too, because the rural site operators don't work as many hours in a year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Ms. Munson had a good question via email earlier this week about is there an impact on the work that's done and on the clients if we have more holidays at the South Walnut Street Recycling Center?
Well, I mean, I guess focusing on the floating holidays, which would be granting people a paid day off when the facility is otherwise open. No, we wouldn't really see an impact. Certainly customers should not see one. The facility would still be open, would still be staffed. And, it'd be similar to when somebody called in sick or was on vacation for a given week. We're just going to operate a person down, and we've done it many times. And, rarely, if ever, get complaints because something went wrong because we were one person down.
So I'm glad to hear the floating holidays have worked without having any impact on services.
So if we were to go with proposal 2, how would resolution 2021-15 change?
What's going to change is the floating holidays at South Walnut. And if
we had two categories of employees with 2 different numbers of floating holidays.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here looking at it all. Of course, the numbers do get blurry after a while, but I guess I would request from a staff perspective that if the board wishes to look at passing this with either alternative proposal 1 or alternative proposal 2, my preference would be to bring it back, make sure I calculate the floating holidays correctly and bring it back to the board next month under a different resolution that we can vote on at that time. As I don't want to sit here and try to figure this out right now and have it worded wrong and somebody gets the wrong number of floating holidays.
Right. I think that precaution makes good sense. So
and I guess see now, Ms. Munson, now maybe I'm wishing we'd asked Mr. Baker to hang around for a few minutes.
I don't think after what we've gone through looking at these holidays and all the variables here.
Well, it's not about my question is not about the holiday schedule so much as do I need to bring this, and I could probably ask him after, but do I need to bring this under a different resolution number, or can I bring it back as an amended resolution? If the board would table it now, we can bring it back as an amended resolution next month.
It can simply be stated, I believe, as a revised resolution as presented in the packet of next month.
I think as long as there's no vote taken on it today, we can
Mhm.
just table it and then it can be brought back revised.
That would be good.
We have to vote to table it.
We
Yeah,
should.
Yeah.
Because it's already been introduced, so we should.
we'll need a motion.
Mhm.
Do we,
I'm happy to make a motion, but is there a consensus as to whether proposal 1 or proposal 2 or neither of them is the way to go?
I'm in favor of alternative 2.
I favor 2. Ms. Thomas?
Yes,
Okay, well, you have the straw poll there.
Very good. So I move to table resolution, what was it? 2021-15 to establish the holiday schedule.
And say
for
the date.
December board meeting.
Very good. Could we have a second, please?
Second,
Thank you. If there's no discussion, we'll have a roll call vote on the motion to table.
Thomas,
yes,
Piedmont Smith,
Yes,
Githens,
yes.
Munson.
Yes,
Motion passes. We will bring it back revised next month.
and it'll be straightforward at that point, and Mr. Baker will be glad he's not having to deal with this. Okay. Next on our agenda is a report from the CAC, and Mr. Joseph Winia is here to present. Hello.
Hello, evening, everyone. As you can see from the content included in the packet, there is not much to report again this month because we were again without a quorum at our last meeting. So we had some more informal discussion on the bylaws. We did manage to compile some questions for Mr. Baker of County Legal, almost entirely with respect to matters of quorum and dealing with it, and both when there's not quorum at a particular meeting and also dealing with the larger issue of attendance. And we did get answers back on that, but we will still need a quorum in order to do anything about adopting our bylaws. So that's the status we are in right now.
So, thank you. We look forward to hearing how you're doing with the quorum, because here we are just barely making ours today. Ms. Piedmont Smith.
yes, Mr. Winia, do you have draft bylaws?
So we do have a draft that is not confirmed as adopted by the CAC from an uncertain point in the past. And then there is also an updated draft that I've been working on to incorporate the contents of that draft, the contents of the state statute, the District Resolution 90-1, which established the CAC, as well as the MCC Chapter 216, which includes all of the uniform positions for boards and commissions. So that is available in Dropbox in the CAC folder. There is a subfolder called Bylaws. If you are interested in reviewing it, that's where it is located.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering if you had gotten to a point of where you could have a vote if you had a quorum, or whether it's still in progress.
It is still in progress. My hope is that I've been keeping the CAC members abreast to the status and providing the access to that document. So if everyone is up to date on it and we're able to have a discussion in a single meeting, we would be able to, I think, take a vote on the content of that document and then build it into a final draft format.
All right, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you. So CAC members, please show up at the next exciting meeting so these bylaws can get adopted. Thank you, Mr. Winia. So next we'll have department reports, and Mr. McGlasson will start for us.
You only got me today.
I know, I know.
Lee's doing
will-
groundwater sampling, so.
He will start and end for us.
Okay. Well, for the administration report, hopefully we're all aware by now, but the county council did unanimously adopt our budget on October the 19th for 2022. So, and everything has been completed on the back end of that through Gateway. The auditor's office got everything submitted. So we are, our budget is set for next year. And also staff has been looking at banking options for the district. Ms. Martin and I had a feeling that you know, we could do better in a number of ways than where we currently are. So we did, well, I guess we had one local institution that reached out to us. We reached out to 3 others. And I wound up with 2 proposals out of that, which were vetted with the executive committee. The executive committee did agree with staff's recommendation of making a change, and in consultation with legal counsel. The state statute does seem to authorize the controller to initiate making a change in financial institutions. So we have initiated that process to make that switch in banking institutions, and you can see in the report, you know, highlighted some of the reasons that we think this will be a good move for us, and hopefully just from a service perspective as well as a financial perspective, put the district in a better position. And then also we've been working with legal and starting to figure out our steps toward implementing a waste tire program, making sure we do so in compliance with the section of statute cited in the report that does put some constraints on the district's abilities to provide waste management services, and make sure that we are in accordance with that, so we don't have any issues, assuming that we move forward and get that up and running. And then the last thing that I did want to highlight on the second page of the report, we've managed to get back in some of the schools this year.
Hey,
So we're pleased that at least it's been able to, I think those are the only 3 schools that have agreed to let her come on campus for her programs. One of those, I know one of those is those meetings are required to be outside, which at this point she is okay with. We'll see what the weather does as she schedules the next sessions with them. But we're excited to be back in the school. So glad that that's happening, and in working with MCCSC, it does appear that the school district has left it to the individual schools to establish their own policies regarding letting visitors into the building. So some are and some aren't. And Richland Bean Blossom at this time, the school system as a whole has just said that they're not letting outside educators into the buildings at this time. So that's where we are with that. But we're excited to at least have a few and have our foot back in the door, and hopefully that we'll be able to expand that. COVID comes more under control, hopefully in the near future. Any questions on any of that? Do my best to cover the other departments.
Ms. Piedmont Smith has a question.
Yeah, I wonder if you could tell us more about the virtual green chat that was held October 23rd.
Well, that was just the first, and I apologize, I don't recall the topic on that, but it's a monthly virtual series that we've started that we're going to work with. Elisa has a number of presenters, speakers lined up that some represent businesses, some are just residents that, have done things at their home that are, geared towards sustainability and conservation, and just a chat series for people to share ideas and learn ways that they can reduce waste, become more sustainable, more environmentally conscious either in their habits at home or their habits at work.
Do you know how many attended the first one?
The first one was not well attended. It was 2 or 3, I believe.
Oh.
But you got to start somewhere. And we're trying not to get discouraged and figure out ways to better promote the second one and increase our attendance.
That's a great idea.
Good.
Okay. Not a whole lot. I guess, well, there are a couple of things on the recycle report that the first bullet point under recycling and reuse, Hobbs, who is our primary vendor for the leasing of our compactors, because we've had a few of our compactors that last winter we had some weather related issues with them, and we've had some that are requiring a little more maintenance than usual over the summer. So they've approached us and have basically proposed to terminate the existing lease agreements and enter into a new lease with a different compactor that has a heating block in it for the hydraulic fluid, which will, they say should eliminate all of the weather related issues we have in the winter. Because it's all just related to cold and that hydraulic fluid, not being mobile enough to do what it needs to do. And then if some of the other maintenance issues, we would just have newer pieces of equipment. So kind of working with Mr. Baker on that, trying to, I guess, we're trying to figure out, can we just accept what they're proposing as a service? And make it happen, because and how the statute reads with regard to the thresholds required for to do invitations for bids or requests for proposals, and how we need to proceed with that. But they will cost it was either $50 or $75 more a month, but we thought with the heating block in particular, that additional cost was worth some of the issues that it will alleviate. Because obviously nobody wants to come to one of our centers at 7:30 in the morning on their way to work with a carload of recyclables. We say plastics compactors down. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I think Ms. Thomas has her hand up.
Thank you. Hello, Ms. Thomas.
Thanks. Thank you. We'd also have to take into account the additional utility costs. I don't know how much a heating block actually costs to run for winter.
Yeah, from experience, the generators at the landfill all have heating blocks on them for their fuel tanks. And our experience out there is that, I mean, it made no noticeable difference on our electric bills.
That's great news. Thank you.
And then the other that we hope to have resolved shortly, you can see under the rural recycling centers, our current vendor, or the vendor that we have used in previous winters for snow removal, as advised, they're not going to be providing that service to anybody this year. So we are seeking out other companies that would be interested in providing quotes to do snow removal at the sites, so we can make sure we have that arranged, and when it does finally snow, we don't have any delays in opening and operating those facilities.
Good.
And then the landfill, I think that's I don't know of anything going on out there. other than they are collecting the groundwater samples. I think they have had to do a little bit of leachate hauling just because it's gotten colder and the water temperatures dropped, and that's the colder the water, the less that we can treat. Just a biological process that slows down when the temperature gets colder, but nothing substantial at this time. And then, apologies, but because of the early meeting, there's no leachate data in this one because we had not completed the month before the packet had to go out. So, and then one other thing, for all of our facilities, we were contacted by MC Iris a couple of weeks ago, and I guess they every year they kind of pick an invasive species to make an issue of and tackle and try to do things to reduce or eliminate it in the community. This year they're picking on the Calorie pear tree, but they wanted to see if the district would be willing to act as an example and let them come out, and if we have any Calorie pears, help us develop a plan to eradicate those and replace them with a native species. And I've, in talking with them, what I think I'm working out with them, I'm going a little bit a step further and having them come to all of our facilities and do an inventory for us and identify the non-native and the invasive species that are out there. Help us develop a plan to try to eradicate those and replace them with native species. And once we do that, then we can start putting some cost assessments together and see what we would be able to do. They did advise that in many instances, they recognize that landscaping is not cheap, and generally, their plans for eradication, cover a 3 to 5 year time period and do it in increments so that it's not such a burden to do in one shot. So, so trying to schedule some times for them to come out and do their inventories, and we'll see where that goes.
Okay. So, Mr. McGlasson, I had a question about one element in the report, and that has to do with environmental compliance cases. And your report says there are currently 45 open environmental compliance cases. So,
Wow.
That's what I said to myself.
That is a lot. I apologize. I do not have the detail on that readily handy, but we routinely have a number of cases that are long-term cases that involve a number of issues where other departments are involved. Sometimes county legal is involved, and the steps toward resolution get out of our hand at that point, and we wait for some legal response and direction when they get to that point. And so that's going to be some of them. It's and then obviously depending on things that are happening at the landfill and Mary Beth's schedule, sometimes the environmental compliance cases don't make it to the top of the priority list. The landfill has to be the priority at some times, and so that there's a delay in responding to the complaints sometimes. So those are some possibilities that could add to the inflation of that number. But I can check with Lee and Mary Beth and make sure that we're not lagging behind too far, and if so, what we need to do to get caught back up.
Okay, good. Be good to hear. Thank you. So Mr. Winia has a question.
I do. It's actually more of a comment than a question. And I know MC, it's with respect to the Calorie pear tree from MC Iris. I don't know, I suspect they'll have their own recommendations for dealing with it, but I'll just also note that the rootstocks can be grafted with fruit-bearing tree varieties. If you wish to not uproot and grind out the entire thing, you could actually grow fruits on your properties. So I just wanted to mention that in case that was of interest and they didn't suggest it.
That's interesting. Good.
That was all. Thank you.
So thank you. Our agenda is complete, except for comments from the directors. Directors, do you have any comments you'd like to offer?
We do have an agenda item for public comment as well.
Yes, we do.
Sorry.
Okay. I think we just got that from Mr. Winniat, but we'll try again. We'll take public comment right after the comments from directors then. Mix it up a bit. Ms. Piedmont Smith?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's, I noticed in the administrative department report, you know, there were social media posts about Halloween. Is there also some publicity on what to do with your pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns, other than just putting them in the trash? You know, people who don't regularly compost have this heavy thing now, and some people don't want it in the compost because they don't want to end up growing pumpkins, which we've done more than once in our compost. So is there any advice about that? And could that be a social media post or something?
Well, and I'm trying to pull it up now. I don't recall exactly what the post was, but we obviously we can certainly do something to promote the composting of pumpkins if people had the live ones. And I think it looks like what was in there was more about reuse for Halloween decoration than what to do after Halloween and with all the stuff we have left over. But we can certainly make note of that, and for the future recommend that they bring it to us or one of the local composting facilities and keep it out of the trash.
Yeah, as long as you get all the seeds out, then you could compost it with no problem. Maybe cut it up, that helps too.
And you can toast and eat the seeds.
You can.
So we have two more people wishing to make comments. First is County Council Member Marty Hawk.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. I was interested in what Ms. Piedmont Smith was mentioning about the numbers of people who attended that last gathering. Visual was a Zoom meeting with just the public. I just got a part of the comment, and I just think that could be very interesting. So if we could, play that up on Facebook, I'd be happy to share it on my page. Let's, let's share what we all do things differently to save the planet. We have different opportunities, different challenges. I'd like to be a part of it. So that sounded interesting to me.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're interested in that. And since I had just pulled up the Facebook page about the Halloween ones, I can tell you that yesterday, the second chat session, which is scheduled for November the 20th, was posted and is available to be shared.
Okay, so is it just, they're just doing chat, or will they be doing Zoom so they can sort of show pictures of what they're doing, or what?
Well, a lot of it is going to depend on who the speaker or the presenter is and the topic. The second one, it's home energy savings first steps. Community member Theron Thomas is the presenter. I don't know what he has prepared, to present, but it's an opportunity for, like I said, we have a speaker, a presenter, but the idea is for them to briefly, go over what they have and then leave the second half of that session for a more of an informal discussion or idea sharing opportunity for those in attendance.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that.
Commissioner Julie Thomas also has her hand up.
Yeah, a couple of quick things. First, I just want to remind Tom and staff to make sure that we get the links to meetings posted on the county calendar. Today's meeting was not posted. So just FYI. And it's probably because it got changed. The date got changed. But also, just since it's the month of Thanksgiving, I just wanted to say I'm grateful for the staff and everyone that works so hard at the district and all the folks who make an effort to recycle in our community. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Great comment. So now I'd like to turn to public comment and apologize to the public for putting you off the agenda for a minute. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak? I guess we didn't miss anybody then. So we have completed our agenda and we're ready to adjourn until our next meeting, which will be the regular time, correct, Mr. McGlasson?
Yes, December the 9th at 4 p.m.
Yes. So with no further business, we will see you December 9th. Thank you, everybody, for coming and participating.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.